A whole family was wiped out. Very tragically, it is extremely hard to protect yourself from a murderer in your own home. Those were the words of Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy on a warm Tuesday evening in June 2026. Minutes earlier, emergency dispatchers in Livonia, Michigan, received a call that would forever alter the fabric of a quiet suburban community. Neighbors reported the unmistakable, sharp cracks of rapid gunfire echoing from a brick ranch-style home in the 19,300 block of Rensellor Street. When first responders breached the front door, the air inside was thick with the acrid smell of burnt gunpowder. They expected a domestic dispute. They found a slaughterhouse. 4 bodies, scattered from the quiet privacy of a bedroom to the concrete slab of a backyard patio. All of them riddled with multiple close-range gunshot wounds from a high-powered, semi-automatic rifle. The killer didn't wear a mask. He didn't force a window. He didn't have to evade security cameras. He had a key to the front door because he lived there. This is the anatomy of a family annihilation. This is the story of Gage Wade Pierce, a 25-year-old man who turned a combat-style firearm against his parents, his brother, and a young woman who simply chose the wrong evening to visit her boyfriend. Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and listen closely to how an entire household was erased from the inside out.
If you're the kind of person who can't look away from real crime stories, then make sure you like this video and subscribe for more haunting cases, just like this one.
We were neighbors for 10 years. You know, we were pretty good friends. I watched the boys grow up. When he was younger, it was very obvious he had something similar to autism. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say, but he was definitely had mental issues when he was growing up. It's a real shock, you know. You know, something must have happened to set him off or click, you know, because, you know, they were a normal family. They had ups and downs. Because I just want to say that he was not some kind of a crazy murderer or, you know, killed animals or anything like that. He was just, you know, a young man just, you know, getting through things, I guess, you know.
To understand the absolute shockwave this event sent through southeastern Michigan, you have to understand Livonia. Located just northwest of Detroit, Livonia is the quintessential American suburb. It is a city of manicured lawns, safe parks, and generations of families who move there specifically to escape the violent crime statistics of the urban core. The 19,300 block of Rensellor Street is a portrait of Midwestern tranquility. But on Tuesday, June 9, 2026, at exactly 5:30 p.m., that illusion of absolute safety was shattered forever. The 911 calls came in rapid succession. Callers described loud, metallic pops coming from inside the Pierce residence. Within minutes, a massive convoy of Livonia police cruisers, ambulances, and tactical gear flooded the tree-lined street. Officers moved onto the property with weapons drawn, setting up a perimeter. They didn't know if they were walking into an active shooter situation, a barricaded hostage standoff, or a suicide pact. What they discovered when they stepped across the threshold was a scene of clinical, systematic execution. Who were the Pierces? To the neighbors who saw them mowing the lawn or washing their cars on weekends, they were a hardworking, ordinary, close-knit family. Sterling Pierce, 58 years old, the patriarch. Polly Kimball, 53 years old, the mother. Tanner Pierce, 22 years old, the younger, popular brother. Nevi Finch, 21 years old, Tanner's girlfriend, a resident of nearby Warren, Michigan. Loved ones described her as the kindest soul you could ever meet, a young woman just beginning to figure out life, whose whole world revolved around Tanner. And then there was Gage Wade Pierce, 25 years old, the oldest son. Gage was different. While Tanner was outgoing and moving forward with his life, Gage was stagnant, living under his parents' roof on Rensellor Street. Following the murders, Livonia Police Chief Thomas Goralski would reveal to journalists a critical piece of information. Investigators had quickly uncovered evidence of a long-standing, deeply contentious relationship between Gage and his parents. But it was a hostility contained entirely within the four walls of the house. There were no red flags in the state databases, no prior domestic violence calls to the address, no criminal record for Gage Pierce. Law enforcement had never been summoned to settle a dispute. However, friends and acquaintances later noted that Gage's social media footprints had recently taken a bizarre, dark turn. He began posting unusual, cryptic updates referencing intense arguments with his family, airing grievances to a digital audience that didn't realize they were watching a countdown to mass homicide. June 9, 2026 began like any other summer Tuesday. Sterling and Holly were home. Tanner was in his bedroom, and Nevi had driven over from Warren to be with him. She was a constant, welcoming presence at the Pierce household, loved by the family because of how well she treated Tanner. The afternoon was peaceful. The family dog, a loyal companion, wandered through the rooms. Outside, the sun was beginning its slow descent, and Holly and Sterling stepped out onto the backyard patio to enjoy the evening air. Meanwhile, inside the house, Gage Pierce was moving with a terrifying, silent purpose. He didn't scream. He didn't instigate a massive, explosive shouting match. Instead, he retrieved a semi-automatic rifle. This wasn't a weapon meant for hunting or home defense. It was a high-capacity firearm designed for maximum lethality. He loaded the magazine, chambered a round, and began stepping through the hallways of his childhood home. The timeline suggests Gage acted with calculated speed, ensuring no one had the opportunity to call for help or flee the property. He targeted his own brother first. Gage walked down the hallway toward the bedroom where Tanner and Nevi were hanging out. He raised the rifle, threw the door open, and opened fire. In the confined space of a suburban bedroom, there was nowhere to hide. Gage pulled the trigger multiple times, unloading a hail of high-velocity rounds. Tanner and Nevi were struck repeatedly. The sheer velocity of the gunfire killed them almost instantly, leaving them slumped in the room before they could even comprehend the betrayal. But the gunfire was loud. The thunderous reports of a semi-automatic rifle inside a house are deafening. Out on the backyard patio, Sterling and Holly would have heard the absolute destruction happening in their son's bedroom. Did they try to run? Did they move toward the back door to save their children? They never got the chance. Gage turned away from the bedroom, walked through the house, and stepped out onto the concrete patio. Standing face to face with the parents who had raised him, who had housed him, he raised the rifle once again. He fired multiple times. His mother, Holly Kimball, and his father, Sterling Pierce, collapsed onto the patio furniture and the concrete, mortally wounded under the late afternoon sky. The fury of Gage Pierce was so absolute, so devoid of basic human empathy, that he didn't even spare the family pet. As the dog ran through the chaos, Gage fired at the animal, striking it squarely in the front right leg. Within a span of less than 2 minutes, an entire family tree was completely severed. 4 human lives ended by the hand of the firstborn son. When the first wave of Livonia police officers breached the perimeter and entered the home, they prepared themselves for a tactical gunfight. Instead, they encountered something far more chilling: absolute compliance. Gage Wade Pierce was standing right there at the scene. The rifle was recovered nearby. He did not point the weapon at the officers. He did not attempt to flee into the neighborhood or turn the gun on himself. He surrendered cleanly, allowing officers to snap handcuffs onto his wrists without a single word of resistance. Outside, the neighborhood was paralyzed. Paramedics rushed onto the property, but their medical bags remained closed. There was nothing they could do. Tanner, Nevy, Holly, and Sterling were all officially pronounced deceased at the scene. The only living entity requiring medical transport was the family dog. Officers carefully wrapped the bleeding animal and rushed it to the Veterinary Emergency Service West in Plymouth, where veterinarians immediately began emergency surgery to save its leg. Back at the station, detectives sat across from the 25-year-old mass murderer in an interrogation room. They were desperate to answer the single question haunting the entire community: why? What could possibly cause a son to slaughter his entire biological family? While Gage spoke to investigators, the full details of his statements remained guarded for trial. Chief Goralski repeatedly emphasized to the press that while the contentious relationship with the parents was the clear focal point of the tension, they had found absolutely zero evidence of any dispute, anger, or animosity between Gage and his younger brother, Tanner. Tanner and Nevy were simply collateral damage in Gage's absolute war against his parents. On Friday morning, June 12, 2026, less than 72 hours after the massacre, Gage Wade Pierce was led into the 16th District Court for his formal arraignment. He stood before Judge James Jolly via video link from the Wayne County Jail. The courtroom was thick with tension. The charges read aloud by the state were catastrophic: 4 counts of first-degree murder and 4 counts of felony firearm. Under Michigan law, first-degree murder carries a mandatory, non-negotiable sentence of life in prison without the absolute possibility of parole. A whole family was wiped out, Prosecutor Kim Worthy repeated strictly on the record. This domestic violence mass homicide could have happened anywhere and at any time. We will aggressively prosecute this defendant for his alleged actions. Gage's defense attorney entered a standard plea of not guilty on his behalf. When the topic of bail arose, Judge Jolly didn't hesitate. Given the unmitigated severity of the crime and the absolute danger to the public, bond was denied entirely. Gage Pierce was remanded back into custody, destined to spend the rest of his legal proceedings behind bars. He is scheduled to return to court on June 25, 2026, for a probable cause conference, followed swiftly by a full preliminary examination on July 2, where prosecutors will officially place the forensic evidence, ballistics, and autopsy reports onto the public record. Today, the home on Rensellor Street stands quiet, a makeshift memorial of flowers, candles, and tears growing along the sidewalk. Extended family members, completely broken by the loss, have publicly released statements urging anyone moved by this tragedy not to send flowers, but to donate heavily to a mental health organization of their choice. It is a grim, deeply unsettling realization. We build walls, we install security systems, and we lock our windows to keep the dangers of the world outside. But this case proves a terrifying psychological reality. Sometimes, the greatest danger is already sleeping down the hall. Before you click away from this video, I want you to weigh in on this case in the comments section below. When a suspect exhibits no prior criminal record or domestic police calls, what steps can a family or community take to intervene before tension turns into a mass casualty event? Do you believe individuals who commit family annihilation should face separate, harsher federal penalties beyond standard state murder charges? Given the warning signs Gage left behind on social media, should digital platforms face legal liability for failing to report explicit family hostility to local law enforcement? Leave your thoughts down below. We read every comment. Stay safe, stay aware, and look out for those you love.
If you're the kind of person who can't look away from real crime stories, then make sure you like this video and subscribe for more haunting cases just like this one.